Webster's Dictionary defines a rogue deck as something that YouTubers play when they're out of ideas. I define a rogue deck as something that wins 10% of the time, can wreck one of the top decks regularly through unscrupulous methods, or both. And almost all of them feature single prize cards. When Black Bolt and White Flare come to Pokemon TCG Live on July 17th, there will be 172 cards. You'd think 90% of them being non-meta would be great for someone like me making a rogue decks video. Well, after perusing the set list far too often, I came up empty, which my doctor assures me is something normal that happens as you get older. I mean, look at some of these cards I have to work with. 3 energy for a 50% chance at paralysis, an energy control card that I can't bring myself to try, and a fighting type that's worse than Spiritomb and Garchomp. To make matters worse, people in Japan haven't been whacking off nearly as much lately, meaning I have to come up with a lot of the lists on my own. And if you think that's unfair like a stamp, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's kick things off with Reuniclus, who is played similarly to Mamoswine EX, except it's a single prizer with a lower damage cap, but only needs a single energy to attack. With its first attack, Reuniclus can evolve each of your bench Pokemon. That's important because its second attack does 40 base damage plus 40 more for each evolved Pokemon you have in play. Using my cheat sheet, you can see that a full bench of evolved Pokemon lets you deal 280 for that single energy, but if you run Area 0, that can get as high as 400. Though you may want to run a basic Terra for Area 0, capping Reuniclus at 360, but 360 for 1 energy is still kinda nuts. That first build is all about Mamoswine. Assuming you don't get screwed over by prizes, the strategy is to get as many basics down turn 1. Then try to get a Reuniclus in the active on turn 2 using its attack to evolve all of your bench Pokemon. The list is very busy, running 4 different stage 2 lines plus Rabsca and Pheasantipity. Of course, lots of testing will need to be done to determine if Rabsca is necessary and whether Pheasantipity is more of a help or a hindrance. Thankfully, where Mamoswine needs stage 2s to do added damage, Reuniclus only needs evolutions, so Rabsca isn't too bad here. All in all, the deck has power and will get wins when it works, it's just that getting it to work might be troublesome. For that Area 0 build, you'll want either Cornerstone Masked Ogerpon or Pikachu as your Terra, as they both have an ability that makes them harder to knock out. If you want an evolved Terra, Farigiraf is the best bet for a similar reason. Once you've settled on your Terra, it's a simple case of having an existential crisis where you try to figure out the best partner for Reuniclus. I decided on Revavroom. Dudunsparce isn't a great option because it shuffles itself back in the deck. Revavroom keeps you drawing cards throughout the game. And yes, I understand your Cloak and Dragapult are the perfect choices because it fulfills both Santa Clauses, but you're forgetting that Dragapult is the devil. I'll admit that I'm not super confident in this list. As I was building it, I kind of realized that, yeah, the Dragapult line is the strongest partner for a Reuniclus Area 0 deck. And Rabsca kind of sucks in this day and age of everyone using Frostlass Munkidori, so you may want to swap the Flex Stage 1 with Toedscruel to prevent Night Stretcher plays. Thankfully, I had a stroke of genius, which is what I usually do after watching For the Win. You see, you don't need multi-prizers or Area 0 to win with this archetype. You can easily turn Reuniclus into an inferior Typhlosion deck without much hassle. Since nobody in the Reuniclus line has an ability, chuck Frostlass in there. That'll help weaken some of the stronger Pokemon. Then add Brave Bangle to boost your damage against EXs by 30. And since it allows you to deal 330 damage, run Maximum Belt as your ace spec. My confidence definitely started wavering the harder I cooked. I really can't know the best way to play Reuniclus until I get my feet on it later this month. All I know for sure is that the greatest Dragon Ball Z villain can hit super hard for a single energy just like Typhlosion. But unlike Thylosion, it doesn't need to worry about getting cards in the discard pile. If you're really feeling crazy, there is the Scatterbug line. Both Scatterbug and Spupa can evolve the turn you put them into play. Then Vivillon evolves all of your bench Pokemon for a single energy. You'll probably have to run Bug Catching Set and maybe Mesagoza and Great Ball, but with a little luck, it'll be insanely fast and fun. Oh, and don't forget that Lily's Clefairy allows Reuniclus to hit Raging Bolt and Dragapult for weakness. Or Luxray, who's an evolution that puts itself into play when you're behind on prizes. And even the Summoning Gate Reuniclus to put stage 1s and stage 2s directly onto the bench. If it feels like you have a turtle head poking out, that's because the next new rogue deck is Tirtouga. For a single water energy, the turtle does 30 damage times the number of items in your opponent's discard pile. This is a step up from Garbodor during the Sun and Moon days, which only did 20 per item. While that's a nice boost, the meta is vastly different in 2025, with players running fewer items than ever thanks to butt faces like Badoo and now Jealous NTX. Still, most decks have on average 15 to 17 item cards, so if you can get 10 in their discard pile, Tirtouga's one-shotting most 2 prizers in the game. Problem is, wrangling these sea turtles isn't easy as they evolve from a fossil. While the cover fossil is protected against the effects of attacks like Phantom Dive Pings, it is an item. So if you're under item locked, well, sucks to be you. To help alleviate this stress, players in Japan paired the Turtle with Iron Thorns EX. This way, you're guaranteed to start Iron Thorns as you're active. Yeah, the problem of evolving through a fossil is still there, but Iron Thorns' ability turns off Jellicents. And as we all know, Iron Thorns works well as a solo deck. Crushing Hammer tries to bait out Night Stretcher for recovery, Airy and Zerosit can force them to discard cards from hand, and everything else is designed to get Iron Thorns powered up early and ready to attack. Finding Tirtouga won't be easy, but it will give the deck a super powerful late-game attacker. If you want a solo Tirtouga build, the best partner is ROTOM. For a single Lightning Energy, it discards all items and tools from your opponent's hand. Play Iono turn 1, give them 6 cards, then Crushing Pulse to hopefully build up their discard pile. To add a little spice to the deck, which is all in an effort to force them to play more cards, the new Caracosta protects you from special energy. Not only is Luminous Energy played quite a bit, but Neo Upper Energy is going to be Dragapult's ace-spec of choice come Black Bolt and White Flare. That's because Sparkling Crystal can be Tool Scrappered, while Neo Upper can be found with Hilda. You will need Relicanth down as well, so Caracosta can use Tirtouga's attack, but a single copy allows you to potentially wall some strong decks. The list also plays Mimikyu. Again, you want to force them to play as many cards as possible. I couldn't fit Crushing Hammer in this particular build, but it's definitely an option. Otherwise, Rotom, Aries, Erosic, Mimikyu, and Maractus should be enough to masterfully bait out more items. If you're looking for other ideas, Brave Bangle ups the damage you deal to EXs by 30, and the old Caracosta boosts the damage you deal to evolutions by 30 and it stacks. So you could load up on Caracosta plus a couple Relicanth and deal something like 150 damage if they have a single item in the discard. Ultimately, the potential with Tirtouga is there, it's just the stupid evolving from a fossil thing that holds it back. Returning to a Stage 2 Pokemon that looks like it could give you a life-threatening illness while also being a worse Typhlosion, we have Seismitoad. For an Ignition or a Reversal Energy, the Thick Toad drops a thick load and does 70 damage times the number of Pokemon you have in play with the round attack. The entire line features the round attack, so conventional wisdom would suggest you can deal 280 damage. And that's where we'll start. Use this list, always have 4 of your round attackers in play, then hit someone for 280. Brave Bangle ups that to 310, while Gravity Mountain reduces the hit points of Stage 2s by 30, allowing you to one-shot Dragapult, Grimmsnarl, and Charizard. Maximum Belt's also the ace-spec of choice, offering another way to boost Seismitoad's damage. There's a big spice card here in the new Aloma Momola. When someone's knocked out, you put Mommy in the active. Using its ability, you can take a Pokemon with 70 hit points or less from your discard pile and put it directly onto your bench. So recycling Tympole becomes a breeze. It just sucks a massive butt that the Tadpole has 60 hit points, not 70. But at the very least, you shouldn't be too screwed over by prizes, as Redeemable Ticket can help free anyone trapped in there. Basically though, Seismitoad is a worse Reuniclus deck, which is a worse Typhlosion deck most of the time. But that's Black Bolt and White Flare for you. The Pokemon Company wants money from people who think opening packs is a good investment. They don't care about competitive players who spend $0 on their game because Live doesn't have microtransactions. Copying the same formula for Reuniclus, Seismitoad can use Area 0. Except here it's a little bit different, and ironically, Reuniclus is a good partner. Using the Summoning Gate one, you can potentially get a Palpitoad or Seismitoad in play without needing a Tympole. Using Strategery, that could allow you to hit for 350 all game with Seismitoad. Or there's Tatsugiri EX. This one's less good since it requires a Fire, Water, and Darkness Energy, or any of those two plus a Sparkling Crystal. I guess what I'm trying to say is that maybe I'm an idiot and Area 0 isn't a good choice here. Or at the very least, Tatsugiri isn't a good choice. My advice is to take this Seismitoad with Reuniclus list, tinker with it, then maybe try to jam in Area 0. Do you see what Black Bolt and White Flare has done to me? The sets are so bad that I'm having to think for myself instead of just copying what people in Japan have done. It's messing with my fragile brain that's already suffered multiple mental breakdowns courtesy of TCG Live. I mean, do you remember 3 years ago when the dev made every card standard legal then pieced out for the long weekend? Cause I do, and it was chaos. I know I don't talk about Expanded really at all here, mostly because the Pokemon Company has abandoned it like a newly hatched Eevee with bad EVs, but Seismitoad is definitely best over there. Loudred and Exploud from Vivid Voltage have the round attack, and Whismur can play with its balls, preventing them from using trainers. So if you haven't dipped a toe into Live's neutered expanded format lately, why not try it with these guys? To mix things up, we have Scrafty, a card no one's talking about. For 2 Darkness Energy, you flip a coin for each Darkness Pokemon you have in play. For each head, Scrafty deals 60 damage. This is another card with expanded potential. Pair it with Eternatus, Glimwood Tangle, and Dark Patch, start dealing massive damage each turn. In Standard, things are a little different. We have no coin reflip cards, so with a full bench of 5, you'll have to flip 6 heads to one-shot Dragapult or Grimmsnarl. Obviously, Area 0 helps give you a maximum of 9 Darkness Pokemon for a damage potential of 540. Unfortunately, this highlights a problem. There's no good Dark-type Terra to pair with Scrafty. Charizard accelerates Fire Energy, which is useless. Hydreigon is a Stage 2, and Umbreon sucks. Farigiraf is the best option, except it evolves from a Psychic or a Normal type. So you're actually better off just running literally any basic Terra to get the effect to activate Area 0, no matter how dumb it may seem. The rest of the deck pretty much builds itself. Fezandipity draws cards after someone's knocked out, Pecharunt EX allows you to switch and skip Air Balloon, Brute Bonnet poisons their active, Baby Pecharunt can give you something to do on off turns, Janine's Secret Fart accelerates energy, and with 2 ways to poison your own Pokemon, Binding Mochi is a great damage booster. But again, Scrafty is proving why it's going to be a road deck, not a competitive deck. There's just no good basic Dark-type Pokemon to help further your board. Purloin from White Flare gets 3 Dark types, which seems fine. And you can run the Liepard that fully heals a bench Pokemon. Team Rocket's Murkrow can get you a supporter for a single energy, while Absol can draw you up to 5. Yeah, those are all subpar like a good golf score. Honestly, and it makes me feel ill saying this, I think Zoroark EX is a good partner here. I know, lambast me all you want in the comments. But the more I look at the list, the more I like it. Assuming you don't prize Pecharunt EX, it seems like it'll work fairly well. At least up until you need to start flipping coins. Then it'll rear its ugly head like when a Mimikyu takes off its cloth. For that Area 0 build, you follow a similar principle, Skinner. The poison package stays, except now you have to run Area 0 and Cornerstone Masked Ogerpon. You could always put in a Luminous Energy to attack with Ogerpon, but this is a Scrafty deck, dammit. You want to attack with the Pokemon inspired by teenagers wearing jeans that hang down by their knees. My favorite thing about cards like Scrafty is that it doesn't matter if the list is perfect. You could spend 100 hours lotioning your feet while absent-mindedly playing this deck in the background, yet it doesn't matter because success is determined by coin flips, not skill. Just like battles in TCG Pocket, am I right? I've spent a ghastly amount of time analyzing all of For the Win's videos to perfectly mimic his accent, mate. I've also gone way overboard when it comes to reading and rereading the set list for Black Gold and White Flare. One card I keep coming back to is Krookodile. For a Darkness and a Colorless, Ash's coolest Pokemon does 60 damage and discards 2 cards from your opponent's hand. Now I know you're having flashbacks to Arbok EX and your feet are getting sweaty. Yes, it's true that the card is similar and we're in a format without Dark Patch. But Krookodile is a single prizer, meaning there's less risk. Plus, the Sandile discards a card from their hand, and the Krokorok has a similar attack dealing 40 damage and discarding 2 cards. To top it all off, Krookodile's second attack does 240 damage for a reversal energy so long as they have 3 or fewer cards in hand. That makes Unfair Stamp the obvious ace-spec. While you could run Lucian or Clown, those are coin flips and can leave you stuck with 3 cards instead of them. It's much easier to just play Iono and Xerosic. The list is surprisingly straightforward. You're going for a more annoying build, so attacking with Sandile early and often isn't out of the question. Fezandipity and Pecharunt make another appearance, Reversal and Janine help get your Crocodiles powered up, and Dudunsparce's continuous card draw for turns where you may want to play Xerosic. You may have seen a card in the list that looks like it belongs to an evil furry. Curse Duster discards a random card from your opponent's hand upon getting knocked out. Handheld Fan is definitely better, I just wanted a Chansey to show off this card. Mimikyu could also help if you force them to discard backup attackers, and Toad's Cruel can prevent them from being able to recover lost resources. Alternatively, if you really want to create an inconsistent deck that controls their hand, pair Krookodile with Gothitelle. When the new one's in the active, it forces them to shuffle draw 3. Retreat with Air Balloon, then attack with Krookodile's Curse Slug for 240, or leave them with 1 card in hand. The old Gothitelle is another option, allowing you to choose which of the top 2 cards in their deck remains there. Again, it's going to be a mess actually getting this thing up. Grand Tree is definitely your friend, but could be fun to play with once it's hard. Ever since the Pokemon Company printed Fast Raid Latios EX way back when, degenerate players have been looking for ways to beat people off before they even have a chance to finger any of their cards. These days, it's all about Brute Bonnet with Baby Pecharunt. We've all been there. We choose to go second, start a weak basic as our only Pokemon, then they proceed to see their entire deck turn 1, KOing our lone active thanks to Baby Pecharunt and Perilous Jungle. But what do they do after that if you survive? Some have paired it with Archaludon. With Black Gold and White Flare, the new Among Us offers another option. If your opponent's active is affected by a special condition like Poison from Brute Bonnet, it does 150 damage for a single colorless energy. Slap a Binding Mochi on Among Us, that's 190 damage and you're one-shotting Grimmsnarl and Charizard. That 190 also helps with low HP 2 prizers like Mew and Squawkabilly, though you will need Perilous Jungle to KO Latios. Oh, and if you see a Raging Bolt with an Ancient Booster attached, run in the opposite direction. But this could be a fairly consistent way to not only donk them and climb the rank ladder, but to continue the pressure throughout the rest of the game. Amoongussy is also a good partner for Shiinotic. If Mr. Burns from that X-Files episode is in the active, it puts your opponent's active to sleep. Before, this couldn't really work due to the lack of retreat options. Air Balloon gives Shiinotic free retreat, so you can put them to sleep and attack with Among Us fairly easily, and if they flip tails, they stay asleep. Unlike a Septum, I didn't deviate too much from the previous list. Brute Bonnet, Petulant, and Perilous Jungle remain with Pheasantipity as card draw. Blood Moon Ursaluna is never a bad option in decks like this, unless you start it. And you could always cut out the Poison package, focusing on a grass deck with Bug Catching set, but that reduces the power considerably. Now, before anyone says anything, yes, my feet are super duper lotioned right now. And yes, Meloetta EX was in the original Japanese list. But you all know how much I despise Meloetta. Players in Japan will try to convince you that attacking with Meloetta turn 1 going first is better than just putting Baby Petulant in the active and passing. They are wrong. Sure, Meloetta with a Mochi does 20 extra damage. Except you need to find a Psychic Energy. I cut out Meloetta and went with a Monkey Dory because Monkey Dory doesn't suck. To be completely honest, this was one of the toughest road deck videos I've ever had to make. There just isn't a whole lot to offer inside Black Bolt and White Flare when they release next week in TCG Live. You'd think 172 cards would send sparks surging to my brain, forcing me to come up with ideas more brilliant than the stars. Instead, my steam was sieged by the Pokemon Company, who made sure my mind was not unified. If you have any ideas for fun new road decks in Black Bolt and White Flare, please leave them in the comments below, because this is likely to go down as the worst competitive set ever printed with more than 151 cards since, well, 151. At least Mega Evolution is out in 2.5 months. And despite having 40 less cards than these dual sets, it should have a much bigger impact on the meta.